everyone. Oh, I stumbled that.
Right out of the gates.
Welcome to Tooth and Claw Podcast. We have our wildlife biologist, Wes Larson, who loves bears.
I sure love them, Jeff.
And then I'm his younger brother. I was his field tech, and I love cheetahs. And then we have our producer, Mike.
Hey.
And Mike loves lobsters because they pee in each other's faces.
Among other things, but that's really the main reason. Yeah.
I like cheetahs because they're fast. Wes likes bears because they're
the coolest animals on the planet.
And Mike likes lobsters because they pee in each other's faces.
Mike,
among other things.
Of all the animals we've talked about, this might be a hard question for you to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the animals we've talked about, what do you think the one is that's grown the most in your estimation?
Ooh, this might be a little self-aggrandizing even, but when I did the episode on giraffes and learned everything that's going on with them, I think it might be them. I mean, I've always held them to be like unique and interesting, but I just love everything that I learned about them.
I feel like when we were in Africa, whenever we saw one too, your eyes would get a little sparkly. You loved seeing giraffes. Yeah.
You had to research them to realize they have long necks. You're like, I've always heard this, but now that I'm like looking at the data, it's actually true.
Yeah,
right.
I just
Their
picture
necks
Mike
are long.
like opening a photo of a giraffe and being like, whoa.
You know what I extra liked about the giraffes that we saw in Kenya is that they have those two ossicones and they look like each little individual Frankenstein heads. They have like a little flat top.
Oh, yeah.
Almost like the Caesar haircut dangling down over them. Oh, man. They're so cute.
That's true.
I was going to say cute. I don't know if that's the word. Yeah, they're cute. Why not?
Kind of like a Friar Tuck haircut, too.
Yeah.
Like a little bald. Yeah, I like that.
No, that's a good answer. I like the Kenya giraffes a little bit better.
Me too. We had that cool experience where we walked in on some giraffes in Kenya, too. And that was like one of our Africa highlights, I would say.
Yeah.
That walking tour where we were surrounded by giraffes. That was pretty cool.
Mike, I'm starting to think you might be right about disc golf.
You coming around?
I mean, we went and my arm just hurts for the last 2 days from trying to like get a couple extra feet of distance. And I don't know, man.
I think that's more just getting old. But
yeah,
my arm, I thought it was fun when I was playing, but now it's just like, that wasn't worth this.
You need some Tommy John surgery, maybe.
Wes, you try benching 200 pounds, 1 rep once. And then
I can't do that.
And then getting out drove by a Frisbee and see how your pride feels.
Yeah, fair enough. That's true.
That's a very
specific
scenario you need to live out, but let us know how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, we played the other day. It was fun. I might play again tomorrow.
I'll have to ice up.
Jeff's in Montana. We're having a nice time. Mike, we miss you. We wish you were here.
It's nice to hear.
And this is a Jeff-isode that we're doing today.
Jeff-isode. Have you seen social media has been saying a lot of, if my name was Jeff, I would be using like Jeff in everything?
No.
Like that's Jeffed up and like no Jeffing way and stuff.
Interesting.
I've been getting sent that from a lot of listeners.
Yeah,
I feel like I was started using Jeff-isode before I ever saw those, you know?
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
you coined that years ago. You coined that a long time ago.
Your algorithm points you towards any Jeff content too.
Oh,
you get a lot of Jeffs.
But a lot of listeners send me that one.
Yeah.
If my name was Jeff, I'd be saying Jeffed up. That's Jeffed up all the time.
Maybe we should make a shirt that says that. That's
Jeffed up.
Yeah.
I think we'd have like 7 people named Jeff, and maybe 4 of them buy the shirt.
Our real Jeff
I'm game.
Would do it.
So today we are going to be talking about a new animal, and it's a pretty fun episode. Wes is also going to do a like more detailed story on this one. I have a group of stories that kind of link up with each other, but we're going to be talking about an African buffalo today.
And when he says I'm doing a more detailed story, it's in a different episode at some point.
Right.
I had put
He's
together.
He's going to help me with the biology today, but Mike, what are you confused about?
Well, you said we're talking about a new animal. I thought those had been around for a long time. When were they invented?
God just made this one. It's fresh out of the oven.
Well, it's kind of like New Mexico. It's been around a while, but it keeps the name.
True. Yeah, it's exactly the same. Yeah, the more you think about it.
Like when we were in Africa and we saw these animals, they would be like, "Oh, that's new." We'd be like, "Huh?" And
Yeah, it
like,
reminds me of New Mexico is what we would say to each other.
All right, glad we could clear that up. A little bit about African buffalo before we get into it. First of all, it's kind of hard to like know what to call them. I feel like there's just like a lot of, first of all, in America, a lot of confusion with buffalo in general because we call bison buffalo. And then the next buffalo that comes to our mind is a water buffalo. So then we think of like all other buffalo as water buffalo. And African buffalo are not water buffalo, but water buffalo just live in Asia. So African buffalo, there's like Cape buffalo, but then there's also a few other subspecies. So you're not completely safe just saying Cape buffalo either. So I'm going to be saying buffalo or African buffalo throughout this episode.
Great.
They're actually one of the most dangerous animals in all of Africa. A lot of people in Africa view them as the most dangerous animal. They'll tell you, like, actually, buffalo kill the most people every year. And then they'll run into someone like Wes who's like, well,
yeah, I have a bunch.
I'm sorry to tell you, like, I know you live here. And, like,
I have a bunch of biology stuff about that.
He starts mansplaining to everyone.
I dug into the literature. Yeah.
But they probably rank around like third or fourth, probably closer to fourth.
Probably closer
if you're not
to
counting
seventh or
insects. Oh, really?
You're still
Like
you're in the right ballpark, though.
Main players, though, are like crocodiles and
lions,
elephants
snakes,
and hippos.
And
snakes, yeah.
Yeah.
But we were in Africa, and we went on a few walking safari things, and our guide was always just looking for buffalo. Like, that's what they were worried about. That's what they didn't want us to run into. So, like, it is on people's mind out there. They are very dangerous. From what I saw, they kill about 200 people a year in Africa. And listen to Wes on it. I'm just saying,
we'll
this
get
is
into
an
all that
animal
later.
that can kill you. So I have 3 buff boy facts before our first story.
Okay.
So they're nicknamed the Widowmaker or Black Death, which, that's pretty intense right there. That tells you all you need to know. Yeah. What's interesting to you about that?
Well, so Widowmaker, this is where my brain goes since I'm a certified gamer boy, but Widowmaker's like this really hot, sexy sniper character in Overwatch. And when I think about that juxtaposed with the image of like a big burly buffalo, it's like they're just I'm not reconciling those two images in my brain very well because I don't know. I don't consider buffaloes to be sexy, but Widowmaker, I kind of do.
And again, Westward's going to do the biology. I just want to give a little bit about buffalo before we talk about some attacks. So number 2 is that they have 4 natural predators that will target them in Africa. Can you guys name them?
Yes. Lions, crocodiles, wild dogs.
Mike, can you get one?
Wild dogs.
And hyenas. Yeah, Wes got them all.
Thanks, Wes.
And the wild dogs one, like, respect to wild dogs, They're not an easy prey. Like, leopards and cheetahs won't go after them. Like, we saw a lion on one of our safaris that was pretty messed up from trying to take out a buffalo. Like, they're not an easy animal to take down.
Yeah. And wild dogs usually just go for younger or like older or hurt buffalo. For adult buffalo, like really it's just lions and crocodiles that can take like strong adult buffalo. Everything else has to go for like opportunistically for like hurt or injured or young.
Hurt or injured. Got it.
Yeah.
And then I think most people at this point have heard of Africa's Big 5. I think we've talked about it, but the Big 5 was like first formed because of hunting, and like these are the animals. These are like the 5 animals you should be most afraid to hunt. And buffalo are one of those animals. And turns out that has some good reason.
So you guys know the holidays are right around the corner, and they're all about connecting with loved ones.
Here.
They're here. Yeah, we just had Thanksgiving. Christmas is right there. Whatever other holiday you might celebrate. But I think it's a time of year where people really like to be around loved ones. And a really great way to connect with loved ones, especially maybe people you're not able to see in person, is with the digital picture frame from Aura. Wirecutter actually called it the best digital photo frame. And I do know I have people that ask me which of these I would recommend because they've seen ours in our kitchen. And I always recommend the Aura one because me and Jesse love it. Ours is on display right in our kitchen. We're constantly uploading new photos to it. It's just a really nice way to kind of be reminded of great memories and cool photos and friends and loved ones. And the cool thing about it is you can upload pics to your family's frames or your friends' frames. If you give them connection to your frame, they can then upload photos to it. It'd be really funny, actually, if the 3 of us had one that we shared. So it can be like selfies, vacation pics, funny photos, whatever you want to do. It's a really nice gift. It's a great surprise. I really look forward to giving Aura frames to different friends and family because they always love them. And they're really just like a nice looking frame with good aesthetics. So for a limited time, you can visit auraframes.com and get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using the promo code TOOTH at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code TOOTH. It's an exclusive Black Friday and Cyber Monday deal. This is coming out on Cyber Monday, so this will still be active today, and it's their best deal of the year. So don't miss out. Terms and conditions do apply.
Okay, so October 2022, 64-year-old Mario Alberto Canales Najar is the
That's
current
awesome
president.
names.
Yeah, and you know, I kind of get it. In Mexico, they like to give the both parents' name to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
So you
I
get
like
4
that.
names, you know?
Yeah.
It's great.
In 2022, he's the president of the Mexican Hunting Federation. So, you know, this guy likes to hunt.
Yeah.
And Mexico, honestly, for hunting, as far as I know, it's not the best place. Like, not a lot of people are like traveling to Mexico for hunting trips. A lot of their wildlife has been depleted, so then they have a lot of conservation going around. It's mainly like your typical stuff, deer, whatnot. So I'm sure Mario, being the president of the Hunting Federation, kind of is itching to get something a bit bigger, something a bit more noteworthy than his country provides. So he starts thinking of like, what's a fun animal like that I want to hunt? Starts thinking of a buffalo.
All right.
Big buffaloes, member of the Big 5. So Wes, if you're in Mexico, you want to hunt a buffalo, where's the closest place you can go?
I'm going to go to Africa, probably.
Wrong.
Oh.
Argentina.
Oh,
they have-
really?
Interesting.
No, he went to like a game farm in Argentina.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't really count as like a wild buffalo, but
He set you
there
up,
is
Wes.
there is a game preserve in Argentina that he went to where they were going to let him shoot a buffalo. Now, Mario should know better as the president of Mexican Hunting Federation, but he didn't have permits to go shoot a buffalo there. He just paid them money to like go in there and let him shoot it. So him and his guide go to the ranch. They drive out like secluded area. The guide leaves his phone in the vehicle. They walk out about a mile and then they see a buffalo. And Mario starts getting set up. He has like a very powerful rifle. It's a .458 caliber. So
It's a big old caliber.
Big.
yeah, that's a lot of calibers.
You're
I
our
think.
gun guy. How big of a gun is that, Jeff?
That's like double a 22. For
I can think of another Mario that could use that kind of firepower. He just goes around stomping Goombas. I wonder if he has
Yeah.
permits to do that.
Shoot fireballs.
That's
pretty
true.
good.
You got me. I rescind all statements.
This is funny to me that I don't get the mindset of a trophy hunter, But I also
Sure.
feel like if I wanted a big African buffalo mount or skull or whatever on my wall, like people are going to ask you about it. And I would feel really dumb saying I went to Argentina and shot this in a game farm. Like
Yeah.
you would think you would want
Yeah.
to at least shoot it in the wild in a place where they're native to. It just seems strange to like just go pick one out at a game farm in a country where they don't even live. It's really odd.
Well, if you're thinking it's not dangerous enough, you're wrong.
That's
Because
not
he
what I'm
goes
saying.
out and they find a buffalo, and he's pretty close to it. But he starts setting up, and then he puts on like headgear or like ear guards, right? So
Yeah.
that the noise of this powerful rifle doesn't deafen him. And he puts it on, and the guide kind of starts thinking like, you know what, we're too close to this thing because they do have a reputation. And he
Mhm.
tries to tell Mario, hey, maybe don't shoot this. But Mario can't hear him. He's got his headgear on. He's getting lined up for the shot. So the guide pulls out his rifle. He like lines up as well. Mario takes the shot, instantly dropping the buffalo, thinks the job's done. The guide lowers his arm, and then the buffalo pops back up and charges
Oh.
straight at him. The guide had relaxed his position, so he has to pull his rifle up really fast because they are very close. And the buffalo's already like half the distance to them. He takes a shot without really aiming too much, hits it, but doesn't put it down. The buffalo makes contact with Mario, rams him into like the side of, or like at the bottom of a tree. He rams him into the ground,
Whoa.
falls over next to him, but keeps ramming his head into Mario and crushing him into the ground with as much weight as it can muster. And this Argentinian guide shoots the buffalo 4 more times, killing it. Mario had been crushed. He's not breathing. So he puts him on his shoulders, hikes him out the 3 kilometers to the vehicle where he can call for help. By the time help gets there, Mario's passed away.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Man.
it is interesting. Like, that's what you want when you go. That's why people want to shoot buffalo, is because of this reputation, because a buffalo can like kill you after you shoot it. And this person's obviously like a trained hunter. He should know better than to shoot a buffalo this close. But like when he saw it, he just decided to shoot it. You kind of get what you ask for a bit when you like, if you want to shoot an animal that can kill you and then it kills you, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
well, that's kind of what you wanted to shoot it for in the first
Yeah.
place. But it is
Yeah.
still sad, you know?
Yeah.
For sure.
There's a
Yeah,
reason that like prairie dogs aren't the number one target for trophy hunters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like 4 or 5, I think, right?
Yeah.
It does make me it's easy to kind of poke holes in his strategy and criticize, but it's like this is the kind of activity where you forget to do one thing, or like it just slips from your brain to like you lower your gun before you should, or before the kill is truly confirmed. And it's like, that's how thin the margin of error is. It can just flip so fast and literally lead to your death. It's funny in an ironic kind of way because this dude was the hunter of hunters, it sounds like, in Mexico. But it still is just, it's a telling story of how quickly things can go wrong when you're getting up to this kind of activity, you know?
It speaks to like how impressive animals are too. Because we
Sure.
have this crazy technology, we have insane intelligence compared to other animals, and we still sometimes struggle to kill something like African
Like he had
buffalo.
like a very powerful gun, and it's
Yeah.
like, and that actually is something I want to bring up too, is like they are a difficult animal to hunt also because their horns cover most of their skull. Like
Mm,
a headshot when you're hunting buffalo just isn't a good idea because there's too much horn, there's too much like hard material that you have to get through, and it can like ricochet off of the horns. So it's pretty much you're just going for heart or lungs when you're shooting at them. And it's easy to like miss into their stomach where they have a ton of compacted grass because they eat a lot of grass, and that can slow the bullet down. So you have to be really precise with your shot. Headshots are really the only shots that instantly kill an animal. I mean, it's not the only one, but the only one that, like, for sure, like, you can take it down and not be too worried about it getting up and charging you.
Right.
With, like, a longer heart shot, there's still a risk that before it dies, it's going to come at you.
Shot to the heart. You know that song, Wes.
I do. I just ran through my head. You give love
So,
a bad
I also
name.
have another story of a British man working on a private reserve in Zimbabwe. His name was Owen Lewis. Is Owen Lewis? Spoiler.
Oh, I hate those.
And he's 67, and he was a guide. So an American went
67?
out there to... That's not the number.
Oh, I see what you're doing,
Mike.
though. It's only like 2 away from it. That's funny, Jeff.
So
Nice.
someone named Alan Bunn came out to shoot a buffalo, right?
Uh-huh.
So they go out there, they're lined up on one, and this American takes the shot and doesn't hit it in a critical kill spot. So the buffalo runs away, injured but not killed. So Owen, he's a pro, Owen Lewis, and he's like, obviously still cares about the animals, so he doesn't want an animal. Like most all hunters still care about animals. They don't want like a long suffering death. No one
it's
wants
also
that.
like it's kind of bad form if you're a hunter and you like do a bad enough shot that the animal takes a long time to die. You're not doing a great job then, and they want a quick, clean kill. Good hunters do.
Right. Well, and he was the guide, so he's not taking the shot, but I'm sure he's kind of frustrated that this person he's guiding didn't get the critical shot. Mm-hmm. But like I said, like buffalo's a hard animal to take down. So he tracks it for 3 days, like following this blood trail, just like keeps following it. He's like determined to make sure this animal gets put down because he knows it's been shot. And he's walking by some pretty thick brush, and he's actually right next to a buffalo but doesn't realize it. So this buffalo bursts through the brush, throws him in the air, rips him open with its horns, and then crushes him with its feet and kills him.
Wow.
Whoa. Oh, man.
His kids, he had a kid in the United States and New Zealand. They came out to Zimbabwe for the funeral. It's where he wanted to be buried. It's like where his heart really was with the animals in Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. But people who own the ranch said like that he's a man who has forgotten more about Africa and hunting than the younger professional hunters will ever learn. Like he just knew a ton. He was like a real expert in it. And it just goes to show like even the best are in danger when you're targeting buffalo. Because buffalo, another thing about them is like, and Wes, I'm going to let you get to it soon, but especially when they're wounded, their amount of danger that they pose to humans, if they're wounded, it increases exponentially.
For sure. Yep.
So like that's like their natural instinct. First, it's to probably run from like lions or whatever, but like if they're severely wounded, it's to turn and fight.
So guys, I think of anyone I know, have the hardest time being healthy through the end of the year. The month of December is just ripe with pastries, cakes, pies, chocolates.
Beef sticks.
That's a staple of my year-round diet. But it's hard to stay motivated and to stay on top of being healthy when you're trading out, your salad for another slice of pie that you had from the night before. And that's where AG1 comes in. Even when you're on the road, if you're traveling, there's the travel packs that you can get. It's full of all kinds of amazing stuff that'll keep you healthy. It tastes amazing. My routine is I wake up every morning, I stir myself a little packet into a cup of water, and I know from that point forward, no matter what else happens throughout the rest of my day, I've made at least one good decision. Gotten started on the right foot.
That's enough. One's enough.
It's honestly, sometimes it is just, make your body feel good a little bit. So this year, try AG1 for yourself. It's the perfect time to start a new healthy habit. And that's why we've been partnering with AG1 for so long. And AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/tooth to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/tooth to start your new year on a healthier note.
Wes, let's hear a bit more about like the buffalo biology before I get into the other stories.
Yeah. So like Jeff mentioned, African buffalo is the name of the species, but there's 5 different subspecies in Africa. The Cape buffalo being the one that's most often thought of when you talk about African buffalo. It's the one that you usually see on safari in South Africa or Eastern Africa. And they get to be really big too. They can be up to 11 feet long, 5.5 feet tall at the shoulder, and almost 2,000 pounds, the biggest ones. So they can
what
be.
NBA player would you compare them to?
I don't know. I probably wouldn't. I'd say they're more of a football player than an NBA player.
Okay.
They're very, very big, but that's a great question. I'll think about it. It wasn't in my notes. They do have some sexual dimorphism. Females tend to be a couple 100 pounds shorter or smaller than the males, and they are the 5th biggest mammal in Africa. So what do you guys think are the 4?
6th when your mom is there. Sorry, Cindy.
What are the 4 that are bigger than them?
Elephant, African elephant,
Giraffe?
Yes.
rhino.
Yeah.
Can I do 2
Hippo.
rhinos?
No. And hippo.
White and black rhino?
Good job.
Oh, that's
No.
a good.
So those are subspecies. Yeah. So yeah, in order, it would be the biggest elephant, then rhinoceros, then hippopotamus, then giraffe, and then Cape buffalo. So they are quite big. One of their most distinctive characteristics. Oh, go ahead.
They're pretty similar size to bison, as
Yeah, they
looking
are.
at, right?
Yeah, and bison are like our biggest land mammal. So it just shows how big mammals are in Africa. This is the 5th biggest. Jeff mentioned one of their most distinctive characteristics, and it's that they have these huge horns. Both males and females have horns, but males are bigger. And with males, they have these fused bases that go across their forehead. And that continuous shield of horns is often referred to as a boss, which I think is a really cool name
That is super
for
cool.
horns. Yeah. Another cool thing about them, buffaloes have bigger hooves in the front because of their huge shoulders and their heavy heads with their horns. They need more shock absorption in the front. So they actually have bigger hooves in the front than they do in the back. They tend to drink about 40 liters of water every day. So there's a saying in Africa.
Damn.
Yeah. If you're around African buffalo, you're within a day of water because they have to stay within a certain range of water because they need it every single day. They have a really interesting group behavior, and it's kind of like a voting behavior almost, where when they're resting, females will occasionally stand up and kind of shuffle around and sit back down again. And they all sit in the direction that they think the herd should move next. And after they shuffle around, the more females that are pointing in one direction, that's the direction that they're going to move. And
That's cool.
It's like not a dominance thing or a hierarchy thing. It's just kind of like voting, like, hey, which way should we go next? Which is really cool. They can travel in huge groups, up to 2,000 animals. Those groups are often called herds, but they can also be called gangs, troops, or an obstinacy, which is a cool name for a group.
Yeah, I like that actually a lot.
Calves often suckle from behind the back legs, which allows them to suckle while they're on the move, which is pretty cool too. That's not typical for usually they kind of saddle up to the side of the mom, but they can actually go from behind the
you
legs.
suckled from the side.
Yeah. But you suckled from behind. All right. So Jeff mentioned their predators. Really, it's lions and crocodiles that kill adults, wild dogs and hyenas, and then occasionally a leopard or a cheetah can take down young or weakened buffalo. But the main 4, like Jeff mentioned, are lions, crocodiles, hyenas, and wild dogs. Okay, and something that you brought up, Jeff, that I had in my notes, which was great, was those nicknames. I think the Widowmaker nickname We talked about it a bit already, but I think it's especially telling of the danger these animals pose and to the specific people they pose danger to. Widowmaker makes a lot of sense because it's usually men that are killed by buffalo, and it's usually hunters. And that goes back into that discussion we started of the difference between dangerous and like lethal. From the research I did, buffalo don't kill that many people compared to all these other animals that kill people in Africa. So what I tend to do when we're talking about one of these African animals that have these legends about them is look at papers from the countries where there's the most of them. And I feel like in those countries, that's where you would expect then to see the most deaths because there's a higher number of this animal. So I looked at a few papers, one from Tanzania, where there's the most Cape buffalo of any country in Tanzania. And there's a paper that they do every few years that just highlights all of the human conflict from every animal in the country. Tanzania has a lot of deaths from animals, a lot. And they don't even talk about buffalo in this paper because there's so few deaths attributed to them. And the ones that are, it's always the person harassing the animal first. So someone either has a bad shot or it's like a conservation filmmaker or something maybe that's like kind of rustling in brush that they shouldn't be in and they surprise one. This isn't an animal that targets us or that we're not sharing resources like with elephants where they come into people's crops and then they, trample someone or something because they're trying to run them out of their fields. That doesn't really happen with these guys. The person is almost always the aggressor when a buffalo decides to attack. And that's why they're insanely dangerous, but in these circumstances that we put them in. So it's like if you were to be tracking an animal on foot that's injured, this is probably the last one that you want to be doing. Yeah, go ahead.
I would say, but especially in situations. Because
Right.
I think they're still dangerous even without if we're hunting them.
Yeah, but only at close proximity and only if you push them.
Okay.
Like what I'm saying is that they don't put themselves in situations that are dangerous to us. We always put ourselves in those situations. So like if you're just on safari in Africa and you're doing it right, your chances of having any problems with buffalo are like essentially zero. But you could have an issue with an elephant. You could have an issue with the rhinoceros. But that's not going to happen with this animal. They just don't. If you're being safe, they're not going to bother you. It's kind of like bison. Everyone that gets hurt by a bison is pushing that bison in some way. I think bovines in general, like even bulls, we talked about the running of the bulls. Bulls aren't just going to like run out and charge you. You have to like put yourself into their space for them to do that. And then if you're hurting them, they become like the most dangerous animal on earth, where they're just like a freight train that you can't stop. And I think with Cape buffalo, it's even more so because they are just like built in such a way that they're hard to kill. They're vengeful, which is pretty crazy. Like if you hurt a buffalo or if you kill like one of the members of their herd, they actually had been known to like follow that person or try and like get revenge on them.
What if you like their wife dies and then you kill their dog? What do you think they'll do in that situation?
Then yeah, they turn into John Wick. Exactly.
Yeah, it's bad.
They would
You
kill.
don't want that.
That's a lot of the stats, I bet.
So I found one other paper that I thought was really interesting. It's from Mozambique, another place that has a lot of buffalo, a lot of human wildlife conflict. They did a study over 27 months in the 2000s, and there's 265 people killed by animals during that time and 82 injured. And the number one was crocodiles. They killed 134 people. Next was elephants, 31 people. Lions next with 24. Then hippos with 12. Then buffalo with 1. So they are dangerous, but and I like you brought up earlier, I have to be that person that's kind of like when people say they're the most dangerous animal. But I do think that's not like other countries that just do that. We do that in the US too. You know, when you bring up a wolverine, people say, oh, they run grizzly bears off kills. They're the most dangerous animal out there. And it's like, well, they're actually not, you know?
Yeah.
And I do think those myths are easy to pass around, and they're always based on a nugget of truth. And Jeff's stories are highlighting that if you put this animal in the right conditions, this is the most dangerous animal in Africa. But it's almost always humans that lead to those conditions.
I'm thinking probably the myths, if you want to call them that, are perpetuated by the fact that it is an animal that people often hunt, and that by necessity puts them in the line of danger. It's not like people are hunting Nile crocodiles necessarily, like they're hunting buffalo. So there's like, the encounters differ in such a way that I think the stories that get passed and shared around are just different by nature, you know?
That's what I was saying earlier. Like lions and crocodiles, those are animals that occasionally target people. They go out of their way to get a person. Elephants are constantly in conflict with people because we share resources. This is an animal where there really isn't that potential for conflict at the same level. So that's why we're not seeing a lot more deaths from buffalo. But when they are in conflict, they're incredibly, incredibly dangerous animals.
Yeah. And I do think, I don't know, I'd be interested to see what your numbers would say in Zimbabwe, or like the area we were actually just in, Victoria Falls area.
Yeah.
Botswana, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. Because like, I think that where there's the most buffalo, they also have like the most space. So they don't really like a lot of these upcoming stories, they're in like smaller spaces where poachers will go through the fences. They'll get through the fence and then they'll be in like areas of people in close proximity and they'll attack people, you know?
Yeah. Those countries that you just listed too are the like countries where they're hunted the most heavily. And so I think a lot of the accounts you're going to see from Cape Buffalo are going to come out of South Africa and Zimbabwe, especially.
I did see some stories too of just like kids walking to school killed by a buffalo, stuff like that.
Yeah, so, sure. Mm-hmm. And again, I think it's interesting too that while we were there, and this is definitely more anecdotal than empirical evidence, but whenever the conversation turned towards buffalo with any of our local guides, it seemed like those were the animals they were most scared of out of anything else in their area, you know? It was really interesting to hear.
I think though, like a really interesting thing about Africa in general, like these safari countries in Africa that we've gone to recently, is that a lot of the information that has kind of trickled into safari guiding comes from hunting. You know, like even the Big Five, like the Big Five originated in hunting, and that industry has turned in Africa from, and I keep saying Africa, I know that's like, it's a huge continent. I mean, like these safari nations that we've gone to that have a lot of safari industry, that the industry has gone from hunting and it's turned into wildlife viewing. And a lot of that information is carried over, and that counts like with dangerous animals too. So I do think, you know, like crocodiles aren't as interesting to tell people like that's the animal that kills the most, or snakes. Like it's not as interesting to say, yeah, you know, 30,000 people die from snakes. But if you were to put me in a cage match, like I'd much rather be in there with a puff adder than I would a Cape buffalo, because they are more dangerous, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. And to go along with what Wes is saying, I have a few encounters with poachers who, you know, are asking for a little bit. Like people, like Wes was saying, putting themselves closer to these animals and putting themselves in danger. So in 2012, there were people in South Africa in the Kruger National Park who wanted to go poach fish from the river with gill nets, which is illegal because you can catch too many. You can deplete the fish pretty fast. They were going to the river and they stumbled across a lone buffalo. The animal immediately charged and injured one of the men, so the other three carried him away, but left him under a tree to get help. And once they came back, he had died from his injuries. So that was one little story. But another one, this year in Kruger National Park, some poachers went in and they were targeting buffalo. So they were poaching buffalo. They were trying to kill a buffalo for the meat, for the like selling whatever, like, you know, poachers can make money from everything, but yeah. So they went and they shot the buffalo. The buffalo charged and killed one of the 4 people in their group, but they were there illegally poaching. Poaching laws have gotten a lot stricter in Africa. So their friends didn't know really what to do. This friend of theirs had just died. So the 3 people went and like left him by the fence and went to his family and said, hey, like he was just wandering around over there and he just died. Like they didn't have a good lie.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So then the family went and got him and they took him to the undertaker and he was just like,
him.
yeah.
Sorry.
And he was just like, wait a second, like this guy didn't just die. Like
Yeah.
he has like a ton of bruises and like gashes and like broken bones. So he immediately called the police and was like, this looks like he was killed by a buffalo. And the police went and found the 3 friends and they had to go to jail.
I don't know. He just died. That's what happens when you die is all your bones break and you have huge like wounds from
Internal
Most-
bleeding.
Yeah.
Most all my stories so far, they've gotten some hits with the horns, but they've mainly died from being crushed by the buffalo.
Mhm.
So here's 2 different cases of how people died from buffalo. So in Victoria Falls, which is where we were at, someone was watching a big group, or his cattle, a 38-year-old named Given, and he was like looking after a herd of cattle when he says that he came across a buffalo. The buffalo charged him and ripped open his stomach with its horn, and he had to like grab its 2 horns and just like hold on for dear life.
Yeah.
So it already like gashed him, and now he's just holding the horns. The buffalo keeps coming at him, and then eventually it disengaged and left. And he gets up, and his intestines come out of his stomach.
Oh.
So he
no.
takes off his shirt, ties them back in, and like walks to the village, goes to the hospital, gets some help, gets patched up. But then, unfortunately for him, like he had to go to the hospital, and things didn't really add up with this story. And they found out that he was watching his cattle, but when he saw the buffalo, he decided to poach it. He decided, I'm going to kill this buffalo and eat its meat, which you can't do.
Mhm.
Nope. You're not allowed to do that.
And he knew that he'd get in trouble, so he made up the story that the buffalo just attacked him for unprovoked. Also, in 2028, a 35-year-old woman from Chimpanzee, she was just walking around to gather firewood for her family, and there was a buffalo in the bushes where she was going next to that she didn't see. The buffalo attacked her, ripped her stomach open, her intestines fell out. The village had to like come get her, try to help her, but she died before she could even get to help for it.
Yeah.
Man.
Usually
So-
when your intestines come out, it's not good.
50-50 from what I'm seeing.
Really?
Wow.
Well,
That's better than I
just
would have
those
thought.
2 stories.
Oh, yeah, I
told you.
guess.
Oh yeah. It'd be a good story if you ever like got to see your intestines
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you survived.
Yeah.
Like who gets to see that?
Just
You
like
know, it'd be-
stuff them back in and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy
you get to know your body a lot better than anyone else.
for sure.
Tooth and Claw is brought to you by Rocket Money. Can you guys name every subscription that you have?
I
mean, I don't think I can even name all my OnlyFans subscriptions.
There's a lot of those. Yeah.
It's hard for me. For me, the ones that really get me are where I'm wanting to like try out. Like I recently tried out an app that makes me do push-ups before I use Twitter. And it had like a trial period. So I wanted to sign up for it. And I forget about those. And I end up paying money that just comes out of my account that I don't see. And for me, that starts to add up. But Rocket Money can find any subscriptions that you forgot about and can help you cancel them, can help you remember them, and they're all laid out in front of you. And most Americans think they spend about $62 per month on subscriptions, but the real number is closer to $300. That's
Come on,
a really
America.
big difference. Yeah.
Figure it out.
part of that too is that these subscriptions you pay for, they often raise the price on you and you don't even realize that. So over time, you're paying more and more money. And Rocket Money is really great because not only are they going to remind you about those subscriptions and cancel them for you if you want, but they're going to tell you if you're spending more every month. You can have all of your spending laid out in front of you. It's really easy to see exactly what's happening with your finances, track your spending, and have full control of it right from your phone. I love it. It's helped me save a lot of money. One of the features that I like the most is if there's like a expense that's kind of seems out of the norm, Rocket Money alerts me and says, hey, there's been this larger expense than normal. Did you make this? And you guys know I'm kind of a sucker for scams.
A good scammer.
Yeah, so that is really, really helpful for me. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/claw. That's rocketmoney.com/claw, rocketmoney.com/claw. And just so everyone knows, there's a reason that we put like claw or tooth or whatever in these things. If you guys use that unique URL, they know that you came to them from Tooth and Claw. Looks really good for us. So if you're thinking about using Rocket Money, do use our URL to access them. Thank you very much. And thank you, Rocket Money, for sponsoring this episode.
All right. So those are like some smaller stories. And I'm doing a lot of small stories because honestly, a lot of these buffalo attacks are
pretty similar,
pretty underreported. Like there's not a ton of detail. You can find a bunch of articles on it, but they all say the exact same things.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought they were all interesting. And I have one last one of someone who was like very revered in Zimbabwe, kind of a local hero who died just 11 months ago. So his name was John Digby Bristo. Well, he had a privately managed 32,000 acre property with like a bunch of animal habitats on it. I think that's like kind of, I would guess like the size of Massachusetts, like around that.
How long is it?
From what I saw, 32,000 acres.
Yeah, I think Massachusetts is a lot bigger than that.
I saw a bunch of like things that were being very confusing about it.
Okay.
It'd say like it's 1,000 times smaller than like Arizona or something. I was like, what? Like it's hard to
weird comparison.
I don't know. Anyways, this person who owned it, he was very into conservation. He was very into like Zimbabwe as a whole, making it a better place for tourism, making it a better place for the residents there. Zimbabwe has a lot of controversy right now about white Africans and black Africans and just how they are how the white people of Zimbabwe have kind of taken advantage too much of the black citizens.
Sure.
And John was a white African, but he was very much on the side of like helping the black citizens of Zimbabwe, giving them opportunities. And one of the things he is most famous for in his life became kind of a local legend because of his contribution to an establishment called the Mpongwe Transfrontier Park. So it's this huge section of land that Zimbabwe, Botswana, and South Africa created together for like the wildlife to have all of this range between the three countries, which is pretty rare in Africa. Like when we were in Kenya, one of our guides even told us that Tanzania tried to block off part of the migration to just keep the animals in Tanzania. Like a lot of these countries do try to limit, like keep their animals in their country.
There's not a lot of cooperation sometimes.
And so these three countries are really cooperating, and it's something that I think is very important for Africa as a whole to kind of get behind this idea of these borders don't need to pertain to all the animals in your. To Africa's credit, they do have a ton of animals. They have done like a great job of preserving what they have, in my opinion. Yeah. But there also can be a lot of steps for progress, and this was a big step, and John was a key part of it because he put his land into this agreement. And he
I think like when we say Africa, we're painting with like a very wide brush because there's like so many different countries there, and they're vastly different. But I think like there are some countries that have done a really great job with conservation there, especially in East Africa and Southern Africa.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason so many people travel to Africa to see animals. They've like preserved a lot of their animals, you know?
Yeah.
So he also hosted something is a really famous bike ride called the Tour del Tuli, which like is a mountain bike adventure that's 300 kilometers. So it's like this huge, like you go through South Africa, Botswana, and Zimbabwe, and he would like set up camps on his land and host the group. And
is it like a competition, or is it just kind of a tourist kind of attraction?
It's not like the Tour de France or anything.
That's
it's more
what I
like
was envisioning.
Like go mountain biking with, like they do it in a group, but I don't think it's a competition. I think it's like you want to go mountain biking on like slick rock in Africa with wildlife. And another cool thing, so his land they owned was called the Sentinel Ranch. Another cool thing was it has like a lot of dinosaur fossils.
Oh,
and
sweet.
Instead of like digging them up and selling them or whatever, he preserved them. He like encourages locals to come on his land and see them.
That's cool.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and they were pretty cool dinosaur fossils. So yeah, from what I was seeing, he just really, more than anything, wanted people to love Africa, love the wildlife. You could knock him a little bit because he did have hunts on his land, but I think pretty much every privately owned game reserve type of situation in most of these countries do allow some hunting. And I didn't see too much about the details of that. But yeah, so John also had a lot of problems with poaching. He understood that there were a lot of Zimbabweans who weren't as fortunate as him, but also just like his main priority was wildlife and conservation. So he was very, very, very against poaching. Actually worked with the national leaders of Zimbabwe to get heavier fines on poachers and to enforce more punishment on poachers. He thought like too many people are getting away with poaching. Too many people who are caught poaching don't have any repercussions. So he really helped a lot to get like poaching to be taken more seriously and punished more harshly, which is great because we were there and like we saw a lot of the side effects of poaching and it's not great. Like the painted dogs in Africa, like really struggle from poaching and they're not even trying to get painted dogs, but that just wipes them out. Obviously he had very strong anti-poaching in his blood, right? And in December of 2023, John and his wife, Vanessa, were patrolling some of his rented land, and they saw a buffalo who had been caught in a gin trap. So do you know what those ones are?
I don't think so.
Those are like the metal claws that clamp on a leg, and was like heavily limping and wounded. So then John was like, we got to help this animal. Tooth and Claws brought to you by Miracle Made. I'm someone who struggles to sleep. Me and Wes have an older brother who it literally takes like 1 minute for him to fall asleep. And he's like snoring too.
And then he snores after like a minute. Yeah.
But I'm sure his partner would appreciate nice sheets since he's keeping her up with his snoring. I appreciate nice sheets because I have a hard time falling asleep. And I honestly can't think of a sheet I've ever slept in better than Miracle Made. What I like most about it is that the temperature stays just how I want it to. I don't know how. I feel warm, but I don't get too hot.
Silver infusions, dude.
It's perfect, you know? I like my room a little bit colder, but then to be really cozy in my sheets and warm. And that's how I have it. And it's so comfortable, even if I can't fall asleep right away.
You know how they have silver in their sheets? Do you think the dwarves tried to put mithril in their sheets?
The dwarves would love to Miracle Made.
Yeah.
They would
or dude,
ecstatic.
If it keeps you the right temperature, just wrap yourself in it. If you're getting attacked by a Balrog, the fire won't even affect you. You'll be at the right temperature.
Great. Nice. And
well,
cool.
you know why they decided to put silver in it too. They were
Ball
inspired by NASA and their
Oh.
thermoregulating design. So they went from the smart, like they learned from the smartest people, which is what me and Mike do from Wes, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And also, it's designed for your skin. So it'll help your skin, it'll help you with every part of your life.
Every part?
Wow.
It's quite the
Sleeping
claim.
That's true,
helps
yeah.
everything. Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
You
So-
are right.
Yeah.
Go to trymiracle.com/tooth to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or for a gift for a loved one, Mike,
I don't love anybody.
if you're going to order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use promo code TOOTH at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. That's huge. Do it right now. Right now. Stop it and do it. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get full refund. No risk. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/tooth and use the code TOOTH to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/tooth to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Okay, so John sees this buffalo. It's struggling to walk. His blood is boiling a bit because his lifelong battle with poachers. They've been taking about 30 animals a month from his property, mainly impalas, but also some, what are they called? Eland?
Elands. Yeah.
Elands
those
and
are cool.
kudus. Yeah.
Those
So
are all
they're-
cool.
And he said that like groups of 30 men would enter the property with dogs and big spotlights, and he had a lot of land. He would try to patrol it, but it was hard, especially the rented properties, and they would use huge spotlights to temporarily blind the animals and then kill them, and then they would use donkeys to haul them out of there. Like I said, though, he's had a lot of animals taken off his property. He's worried about his predators not having enough prey. He's worried about everything. So this just gets his blood boiling. He wants to go and see if he can help this buffalo, see if it can survive. So they drive up. He exits the vehicle. He approaches the buffalo. He gets about 30 meters away when the buffalo turns and charges. And he has a gun ready. He shoots at it, but head first, it's hard to kill it. So he doesn't kill it. The buffalo makes contact with him and starts crushing John. He tries to like crawl out from under it, but the buffalo keeps crushing him into the dry African earth. And it's like very hard ground. We were out there. So then Vanessa is watching in horror as her husband, who's like meant so much to this land, is being crushed before her eyes. So then the buffalo ends up crushing John to death in front of her. She goes and gets help. They kill the buffalo. They recover his body. The whole country, like the president, the vice president, everyone's been mourning his death because of how much he meant to like the tourism of the country and just everyone around him. And like it all could have been avoided without poaching. Like poaching really just does such a number on some of these places, you know?
Sad.
It is really
It's so sad because like he lived his whole life serving these
Trying to
animals,
protect
you know. And
animals.
I don't blame the animal at all.
Right.
But it's just sucks.
Yeah.
Like to what Wes was saying, so I told 7 stories, but like every story except for the lady getting firewood, they're kind of asking for it, you know? They were going into like the buffalo's area. They were hunting the buffalo. Even John, like, it's unfortunate. His intentions were great, but he shouldn't have got 30 meters away from
an
injured
one.
buffalo, you know?
Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions about buffalo, any of these attacks?
No, I think I was at a conference once where I heard a story told by a survivor of a Cape Buffalo attack. And that's probably the one I'm going to do when I get to these guys at some point. Super harrowing. And I think it's hard to underestimate or overestimate the amount of damage an animal this big and this territorial and defensive can do to a person in very little time. And when Jeff says like crushing, they use that like that boss on their head just to like push people into the ground and just pulverize them. So like, I think when we see horns, we think, oh, pointy, sharp kind of, but they also use those as like a crushing implement. So these are animals that are built to a level where they can repel an adult African lion attack. We just are no match for them. So this is a very intimidating animal.
And it's crazy, like having been to Africa, like what was really eye-opening to me is just how much lions do impact like that entire ecosystem and environment. And like there's areas where they'll kill adult elephants, which is insane. Right. And so like these buffalo are always kind of scared. Mm-hmm. So like they're big enough that they can do a ton of damage to a human, and then like they're in environments where they can never really be relaxed. So
always
just a bad combination,
Yeah. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but when we were on safari driving around, every once in a while we would come across one of these bosses that from a deceased buffalo. Yeah. And it's pretty shocking how thick and substantial and like hefty they are.
Skulls in the world.
They really are so cool. But like, imagine just getting crushed down into the ground by just this skull that's inches thick, at its thickest part. That's really, really intense.
And like, I think of your mountain goat story you told, Mike, where like the mountain goat killed someone with how sharp its horns were. But like mountain goats don't have a ton of weight on them.
This is 2,000 pounds.
This is like 1,000 to 2,000 pound animal with sharp horns that can like slice you open. So like, it's just insane.
It's definitely on the short list of skulls that I would want from an animal. Like if I could have one like that just died naturally or whatever, this is definitely one that I would be very interested in having because they're really cool looking skulls.
Yeah, they really are. Okay, so let's go into our categories then.
Let's go. Okay.
Favorite pop culture buffalo.
I had a hard time with this one because I didn't want to include it like a bison. So I picked the movie Crocodile Dundee. I can't remember if it's the first one or the second one, but there's a scene, and I think water buffalo got introduced to Australia, and some of them are feral or wild. There's a scene where there's like one in the road in front of him, and he walks out and goes like, meow, 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 and like puts his fingers out and does this thing, and the buffalo moves off. And I feel like it's kind of implied that he's kind of like f***ing with the people in the car too, like that he didn't actually do anything. He knew it was just going to like walk off. But I just remembered that scene. I always thought like, man, Crocodile Dundee's so cool. So that's the one that I thought of when you asked.
I had a hard time too. I came up with a couple answers that aren't specifically the animal. So I came up with the Buffalo Sabres. They're my favorite hockey team. And then the opening track on Folia de the Fall Out Boy album, one of my favorite albums ever, is The Disloyal Order of Water Buffaloes. It's a great track. I love it.
All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just went with Josh Allen, but like, I feel like that's not a good answer because like,
he's more of a
Buffalo
than a
Bills,
yeah.
And like,
it's a bison reference.
Was like a bison reference. Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
I feel like Africa has some like buffalo mascots and like teams and stuff, but I'm just not very familiar with it. And America doesn't really have. I mean, I think it's a gaping hole, Yeah. Get some buffalo representation.
Yeah, let's go.
There's some animated movie. It may be like one of the Madagascar ones or something where there's a Cape buffalo that gets really angry, and I can't place it. So if anyone out there listening thinks of it, I have this image of it like steam coming out of its ears and it like attacking something, but I can't remember what it is.
I wonder if Netherlands have any buffalo stuff because they kind of have like the Dutch boy. They look like a Dutch boy haircut with their horns.
The middle part
turn to the side and have the middle part and stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of a reach.
That's
but
it. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, your favorite buff guy.
This one, man, I'm starting to hate doing this, but it's a reference neither of you will really get. It's from Full Metal Alchemist. It's Alex Armstrong, a character that's beloved by everyone that watches that show. I would encourage everyone to give it a try. It's just an amazing show, but he's like my favorite character in that whole show.
I had to pick Arnold. Have you guys ever seen Pumping Iron?
Of course, yeah.
It's so
like,
funny.
Amazing.
It's so funny. And like early Arnold, when he was just a bodybuilder, he's so cocky and funny and like weirdly open. He just like says everything, like that whole part where he talks about like how bodybuilding is the same as being with a woman, but he says it much more graphically. He's just so funny and such a legend that it's got to be Arnold for me. I have to pick him. Yeah.
No, that's the best pick. I'll go with Bane from Batman.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
great buff boy.
It's tough.
Super buff.
Yeah.
You were merely,
I was
merely
born
accepted
into
the
it.
darkness. I was born into it. Yeah. Something like that.
All right. Favorite pop culture moment of someone who's severely wounded, just like going crazy. I can start on this one. I went with The Raid. The Raid Redemption, one of my favorite movies. Oh, Wes had it.
Yeah.
Mad
okay.
Dog, was that going to be yours?
Uh-huh.
It crossed
they,
my
like,
mind. Yeah.
Break
Yeah.
the glass and stab him in the neck, and he just like is fighting two people at once by choice for some reason, and then he just like gets even harder to kill after they like almost kill him, type of a situation.
Yeah, my mind immediately went to Mad Dog and The Raid too.
He's just the best fighter
Because he just
ever. I
gets
love
like
Mad Dog.
so beat up and he still just like keeps fighting, and you think he's gonna beat two people. He's just like so tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was hard for me to think of anything else. But I'll just say like John Wick I think the third one where he travels to Morocco and gets his finger cut off and stuff. I feel like that one he gets really messed
Like,
up.
the more he gets beat up, the like more
Yeah,
dangerous
the more dangerous he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll say John Wick.
Yeah, I had a tough time thinking of anything outside of The Raid. This is like a real moment of synchronicity between the three of us. But
Yeah.
I know this doesn't quite match the category completely, but that moment in Punch Drunk Love when he gets in the car accident and he gets out and beats all those punks up that hit his car with a tire iron. It's like Adam Sandler's character has been so kind of nebbish and shy and not proactive at all. And then he just finally like snaps in that moment. And then he's like right back to his normal self after he gets done beating him up. He's not like severely injured though, which is why it wasn't a great match. But
Yeah.
I feel like
that's what I thought of.
Dominic Toretto, like when he gets shot, he's like way more dangerous.
Yeah, he just
you know?
flinches
Yeah.
and then like goes and kills the person that shot him. Another one that I just thought of is Levi from Attack on Titan.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there's so many scenes where he gets like really cut up or messed up and he just becomes even more lethal and dangerous.
Yeah, I feel like pretty much every anime character.
That's
Yeah.
I thought of like 100, but I was like, I can't do 2 anime references in one round of categories.
like Luffy has fought so many bosses now, and every single time he's like died before he beats him.
Right.
All right, let's do cage match. And I wanted Wes to kind of run us through it, but first of all, I wanted to know what you think bison versus African buffalo.
African buffalo. They're like you said, they're about the same size, but they
have like
I think
that
they're-
helmet horn.
yeah,
thing.
the helmet horns, they're just so, and they're more, I think they're like more defensive than a bison's gonna be.
Like bison have to be prepped for grizzly bears is pretty much it.
And wolves. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it because with especially buffalo, because like their predators are kind of low to the ground? Is that why they toss people up in the air a lot of the time?
I don't know. Because bison do it too. And they
Yeah.
kind of just like get their heads under and throw them up. Both these animals have really pronounced, powerful shoulders and necks. And I think it's
They're
just
like
like
the leg guy meme. where it's like
Yeah.
the people at the gym who only do upper body.
Yeah. Skip
Yeah.
leg day.
But I think what you hinted at earlier, just bison have a few natural predators and they definitely have to constantly be wary of them. But it's hard to compare anything to what animals in Africa have to deal with when it comes to predation. It's a constant threat. And a pride of lions is pretty much more dangerous than anything else out there. So I would just say this is a highly defensive animal that's really built for combat. And bison are too, but I think the horns on the Cape buffalo give it the edge.
I will give Cape buffalo its credit too. Like a lot of the times, it's very rare for a lion to take a adult Cape buffalo by itself.
Yeah.
Like they need to group up to take one out. So like in a cage match versus a lion, it like has a pretty good chance of beating the lion.
Yeah, this is a
one-on-one.
It's a prey item for lions, but it's a highly risky one. It's not like taking down a zebra or a wildebeest or something. They have to be very coordinated and very careful when they go for a buffalo because they're incredibly dangerous animals.
What about against like a moose? You think they'd be able to take a moose?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What about grizzly bear?
I'd give it to the buffalo. Like an adult male
over
buffalo.
grizzly bear.
Yeah, even a bison, like a
Interesting.
big bison is hard for a grizzly bear.
So would you say Cape buffalo are kind of like
buffalo
at the top of the ungulate food chain? Like as far as like cage match is concerned?
Well, elephant.
No, because yeah.
Oh, elephants are ungulates?
I don't think elephants are ungulates.
I guess I get confused on ungulates.
They're pachyderms. I don't know if pachyderms are ungulates. That's a good question.
Mm.
But I'm pretty sure rhinoceroses are and hippos are.
Mm.
I'm like blanking on whether or not they're ungulates. But yeah, I think for like bovines, so like any of the ones that are
that's
closely
more the
related
word
to
I was
cows,
trying to think of. Yeah.
I'd probably put them at the top.
That's cool.
The one that I think is a really good match for them is the gar or guar or whatever they are in India. Those huge buffalo in India.
Those are cool.
Like that video of one turning over a truck makes you think, okay, these. Yeah.
So you kind of think a one-on-one match, they beat pretty much every predator.
A single predator.
Because polar bear and tiger are kind of even for the top predators, right?
Yeah. I just think like the difference
Like
between a tiger or an adult male African lion and a polar bear is that tigers and lions are adapted and evolved to hunt like big, dangerous prey, where polar bears are mostly going after seals and stuff that doesn't fight back at the same level. So I think a polar bear would struggle with something that's this dangerous. And whereas a tiger or a lion kind of know like,
to do.
I have to dispatch this. I have to like bite its throat. I have to like attack its haunches. So that's why I would say like a tiger or a lion, I think are the two that I would think match up as predators best against a buffalo.
Got it.
The buffalo would be like, not my haunches. Ouch. Ow, my haunch. Is what they'd probably be saying.
They'd be like, you know what? I don't think I like getting my ass eaten.
Yeah. It probably crosses their mind, yeah.
A little overrated, if you ask me. Wes, you got a random animal fact?
Yeah, do you guys know what tardigrades are?
Yeah,
No.
the little like aqua bear things or whatever they call them.
They're often called water bears. They're little microscopic creatures that look like little worms that kind of look like bears.
They're kind of cute, really.
Yeah, they are. Anyway, they're considered by many to be the most durable animal of any kind of organism on Earth. They can survive in temperatures as high as 149 degrees Celsius or as low as negative 272 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
And pressures 6 times more intense than the bottom of the ocean. So people think that they could survive in space, like in the vastness
The vacuum
of
of
space.
space. Wow.
Yeah. And they can go more than 10 years without eating as well. So this is probably the most durable animal on Earth.
Huh.
Cool.
That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Should do a
And
cage
they're
match
cute.
with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Them, but like in like a nuclear arena.
Yeah.
So, how much do we like African buffalo. We should shout out Garrison too. He came on our trips and he was just relentless that we had the audacity to suggest they shouldn't be in the big five for tourism.
Yeah, he loved buffaloes.
He did.
Really quick, a quick conservation note on these guys too. They're considered near threatened, and I think that's just because their population numbers are dropping, but there are a lot of them. I think estimates are around like 500,000 throughout Africa, but some of the subspecies like the forest buffalo and the other ones are pretty threatened. But as a group, like African buffalo, they're near threatened because populations are decreasing. All right, my claws, I would give them 7 claws. I think for ungulates, they're really interesting. I think when we saw them in Africa, whenever they like lift their head up, you're always like, whoa, that is an impressive animal, especially when we were in Nairobi National Park, that first one that we saw that had the huge horns and the boss. I think all three of us were kind of like, these are bigger than I remember them being. So I give them 7. For an ungulate, that's pretty high for me.
I'm going to go with a 6. I think they're really cool. It's a really interesting experience I've had with them, though, because I usually am not. Well, I'll just explain that, like, my favorite of the bovine family that I've personally seen, I just keep thinking back to the bison that we have, like, up in Yellowstone in the States. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, these are cool, but man, I just think the bison are so much cooler. And I don't know why I feel that way.
These look more like cows and bulls that we see.
A little bit. Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I agree for like similar reasoning. I give them a 5, and it's mainly just like, I do think they're very cool, but yeah, I just think bison are like similar size, but super hairy. I don't know.
Unique
they're just
looking.
Like very pretty. The buffalo kind of are just like one solid color too, you know? Bison kind of get like different shades of hair. I don't know.
Buffalo kind of look like oversized cows with cool horns. Yeah, I think you guys talked me into dropping them to a 6. I'm a 6.
Not like a cute cow either. Like cows can be really cute. I don't really think buffaloes are very cute.
No.
Yeah, I would agree.
You know, they're almost like disservicing cows.
The horns are sweet though. Their horns are amazing.
The horns really bump them up a whole like 3 points.
I'll put them on like my top 4 skulls.
Okay,
really good skull.
Yeah,
that's a good exercise.
All right, and then do you have any subscription questions?
Sorry guys, I'm a little behind on subscription questions, but me and my mom are kind of putting them together, so we'll get some subscription questions in upcoming episodes.
Okay, and I have a few Instagram ones. So Lex Not Luther 96 asks, you can't use any of the original cast members. Who are you casting for Lord of the Rings?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, that's hard. How about you assign us each a character?
I'll go Danny DeVito for Gimli. Well, we have some casting what ifs we could try, like Nick Cage as Aragorn. Yeah. Let's go, baby.
I knew you would say Nick Cage.
Who was it? Sean Connery
Gandalf's
for Gandalf.
So perfect, it's hard.
I know.
That's the thing. Like, we've been asked this before, and I feel like never have I seen a movie where they nailed the casting so perfectly as this movie that it's hard for me to even consider other actors in these roles. It's really like, it's tricky for me. I can't, it's hard.
And like, you'd want it to be like, you wouldn't want like Brad Pitt in it because that's like,
no, it's too distracting.
You don't,
So I don't know. I think I'm going to recuse myself from this question because I have a hard time thinking of anyone else.
Okay. Brendan Fraser is Aragorn?
No.
Dude. Oh, I would love that.
Sometime I'll put some real thought into this because I do think there's an answer.
We should do a big
come back
category.
To it. We can leave it in here, but we'll come back.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a Lord of the Rings marathon pretty soon here, and that'll be a good time when we talk about that.
Sav Simpson West wants to know, in like natural disasters, like for example, the hurricane that hit North Carolina, how much is wildlife in North Carolina affected?
That's a good question. I can't speak on it with like any authority, but what I would guess is that animals like birds that are building nests and are using trees pretty extensively, it's probably a pretty substantial effect for them.
That's interesting because almost feel like birds, like my brain says like, oh, birds will be fine because they're like up in the trees, but all the land animals are in trouble.
I think the animals that are probably doing the best with it are like aquatic ones because it expands their habitat and stuff. But also for them, like,
but even them, they like get lost and then that dries up and then you're just like on Main Street, you know?
Well, also like riverways create all this great habitat for them over time. But then when a ton of water comes through and just pushes all that out, suddenly those rivers aren't very like conducive to all the animals that have used them for habitat. So I'm going to take back that. I think it's pretty destructive for probably every animal, but some of them probably adapt a lot better to it than others. But I can't speak to it with any.
Bears do good because they like find a bunch of like fish on the ground
and bears are really, really like plastic adaptable animals when it comes to the different things they can use. So yeah, I don't know. That's a hard question.
Okay. Alyssa Nicole 7, if you could start your own NFL team, what animal would you pick as your mascot? I'm going to go with the cheetahs.
It's good. Yeah.
Mm.
And I'll cheat too.
Oh, would that be good? Do like some deflate gate kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Overinflate the balls maybe?
That's what Brady said. He wanted them all the way inflated.
I want to go with like an insect. So like maybe like the mantises.
Ooh,
that'd be kind of fun.
I think I'd want to do a snake. So like maybe the vipers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That sounds like an AFL team name for some reason.
It kind of does. It
like
sounds a little too like sexy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm picking.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys for giving us questions. Thank you for listening. Hope you have a great holiday season. You know, remembering Jesus as a baby.
Yeah.
Couple
Nativity.
really quick announcements. Again, Jeff put together some really cool designs for us or from different artists on our merch website. That's toothandclawmerch.com. Some really cool.
Order when this comes out, you can still get it by Christmas.
Yeah. Some of our coolest stuff that we've ever put out, I think, is on that website right now. So check it out. And then one other thing I wanted to say really quick before I forget, because I forgot last time. I forgot to mention in our $3.99 episode, I got a lot of really great information from a friend of mine. Forgot to credit him. He didn't care, but I felt bad about it. Tyler Brasington, who is a bear manager working in Grand Teton, really helped me with some of that information, making sure I got things right. So thank you, Tyler.
Brasington.
Yeah. And
what's
then,
that remind me of?
I don't know.
Brazzers?
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Also, Jess Hadley, who works there, helped me out a lot too. So thank you to the two of them. That was really, really helpful.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Oh, and last thing too, one other thing we've mentioned around the holidays, you can gift our Patreon subscriptions now. So if you're interested in kind of an out of the box, good gift that keeps on giving to someone, you can go to Patreon and there's like a little gift symbol or something. I'm not exactly sure how to do it.
I'm not sure if I'd call it out of the box to gift someone a shirt. That's pretty like in the box.
What am I thinking of? Like a different gift, like a, not typical gift to give someone a subscription.
Maybe we'll make some neckties to give to your dad on Father's Day next year. Really out of the box kind of stuff.
Another out of the box gift. Me and Wes are both on Cameo. And honestly, we do make money from it, but we're not like so much in it for the money as much as like we wanted to be able to give people who love Tooth and Claw messages. And like so far we've had pretty good response. So if you need a Christmas message or want to gift one to someone, like I genuinely love being able to like have some form of communication with our listeners. And this is just like a very organized way for me to do it. So yeah, go on there.
For Christmas, I'm ordering one from both of you. I don't know who that gift is for. I guess it's a two-way street.
Okay, well, we'll stop shilling stuff. Thanks, guys. Happy holidays. Thanks, Jeff.
Love you guys.
Doing the episode. Love you.
You're welcome.
See ya.